Experts are starting to seriously worry about war between the US and China. Here is what we know so far. The US and China have conducted numerous exercises in the Pacific in recent weeks, stoking fears of a looming confrontation over Taiwan. Over the last 3 weeks, China has announced 4 separate military exercises in the Bohai Gulf, the East Sea, the Yellow Sea, and the South China Sea, the South China Morning Post reported on Monday. The PLA also held major exercises near Taiwan in mid-August to safeguard national sovereignty. Taiwan took the unusual step of announcing its surface-to-air missiles had tracked approaching Chinese fighters, as U.S. Health Secretary Alex Azar visited the country earlier this month. On Tuesday, August 25th, Beijing accused the U.S. of sending a U-2 spy plane to trespass on live-fire exercises being conducted by China in the Yellow Sea that same day, according to the state-run Global Times. On August 15th, Washington sailed the USS Mustin destroyer through the Taiwan Strait, the U.S. 7th Fleet said, just days after a strike group led by the USS Ronald Reagan conducted operations in the South China Sea. And in the latest salvo, China, on Wednesday, August 26th, test-fired 2 missiles, including a carrier-killer DF-26B, from Qinghai and Zhejiang provinces into the sea between Hainan and the Paracel Islands, according to a report in the Associated Press. Speaking to the South China Morning Post, Colin Ko, a research fellow at Singapore's Nanyang Technological University, said Beijing conducted the 4 military exercises at nearly the same time to send out both political and operational signals. The first relates to demonstrating resolve in keeping up with peacetime combat preparations in the eyes of both domestic public and external audiences, Ko said. The move would be primarily directed at the recent spate of U.S. and allied military activities in those areas. Operationally, it's to showcase the PLA's ability to carry out major mobilization of forces for training across multiple sea areas, which also highlights that the PLA isn't affected in any way by the pandemic. Stay tuned to TomoNews for ongoing coverage of the tension between Washington and Beijing that is raising fears of an eventual war over Taiwan. Any such conflict would almost certainly involve Japan, and that's not good news for China.
As China remains embroiled in a tense standoff with India in the Himalayas and its warplanes enter Taiwanese airspace every other day, intrusions into Japanese waters by Chinese vessels have attracted relatively little attention, until now. Chinese government vessels were spotted in waters near the Japan-controlled Senkaku Islands for a record 66th consecutive day on Thursday, June 18th. Citing a spokesman for the Japan 11th Regional Coast Guard Headquarters, the Stars and Stripes reported that 4 Chinese Coast Guard vessels appeared about 18 miles north-northwest of Wotsuri Island around 9 a.m. Thursday. Also on Thursday, a Chinese submarine was detected underwater heading west near Amami-Oshima Island, the Japan Times reported, citing the Ministry of Defense. An MSDF patrol aircraft, the Ashigara Aegis guided missile destroyer and the Kaga helicopter carrier were used to monitor the submarine. Japan has administered the Senkaku Islands since 1972, when the U.S. returned Okinawa to Japanese control. The islands are claimed by Japan, China, and Taiwan and lie between both Japan and China's exclusive economic zones. The islands are surrounded by rich fishing grounds and lie near potential oil and gas reserves. The United States has refused to take a position on who has sovereignty over the Senkakus, but both Presidents Barack Obama and Donald Trump have declared the islands fall under the U.S.-Japan Security Alliance.
Japan is building a whole new fighter jet. Here is what you need to know. Japan's Ministry of Defense unveiled a timeline on July 7th for the development of an indigenous next-generation fighter jet to counter China's J-20. The new fighter will replace the Mitsubishi F-2, which is due to be retired in the mid-2030s. Defense News reports the unnamed fighter, tentatively dubbed the F-3 by the media, will be optimized for air dominance, stealthy, and interoperable with the U.S. military. Japanese Defense Minister Taro Kono said in a press conference on June 27th that the new fighter will carry more missiles than the F-35. The F-35 can carry only 4 AIM-120 air-to-air missiles or 2 AIM-120s and 2 GBU-31 precision-guided bombs in its internal bays. In addition to carrying more missiles, a report in Forbes states the F-3 is also likely to carry cruise missiles such as the ASM-3 anti-ship missile and the Sea and Land Target Joint Strike Missile. A conceptual design released by the Defense Ministry shows the aircraft powered by 2 engines. The F-3 is also expected to have a longer range for conducting operations at a greater distance from Japanese bases than the F-2 and F-35. This would allow it to fill the role of the retiring F-15J air superiority fighter aircraft. Forbes reports the F-3 may be very expensive, with each individual plane costing hundreds of millions of dollars. Due to Japan's unique defense procurement requirements, the cost per plane of the F-2 was 4 times that of the F-16, on which it was based. With reduced economies of scale, the plane may cost more than America's F-22, which had a price tag of $339 million per aircraft. Despite these costs, Japan will become the largest customer of the F-35 program outside of the U.S. Defense News reports that on July 9th, the United States approved plans by Japan to purchase 105 F-35 Joint Strike Fighters. Japan will eventually operate 157 F-35s, including 42 F-35B short takeoff and vertical landing variants. The helicopter destroyer Izumo is being refurbished to operate the F-35Bs. That's a lot of money, but with China now sending its ships into Japanese-controlled waters on a daily basis and buzzing neighboring Taiwan's airspace several times each week, what else do you expect Tokyo to do? A US-led coalition of navies and air units is conducting a huge exercise in the Pacific. Here's what you need to know. The U.S. is conducting a large-scale exercise in the Indo-Pacific region that involves a U.S. carrier strike group, a joint air-sea task group from Australia, and a warship from Japan. The joint drills began on July 19th and are centered on Guam Island. Commander of the Australian Joint Task Group Commodore Michael Harris says, "The combined tasking between our navies demonstrates a high degree of interoperability and capability between Australia, the U.S., and Japan." Australia's Air Task Group includes FA-18 fighter jets, EA-18G electronic warfare jets, and an E-7A early warning aircraft from the Royal Canadian Air Force No. 77 Squadron. The task force operates from Guam's Anderson Air Force Base. The carrier strike group includes a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier Reagan and its air wing, the Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser Antietam, and the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer Mustin. Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force said the Akizuki-class destroyer JS Teruzuki. Australia's Naval Task Group consists of the amphibious assault ship Canberra, which is a helicopter carrier in addition to a frigate and a replenishment ship. The exercise will test the forward deployment of rotary wing aircraft. This means Australia's Tiger attack helicopters from Canberra could operate from the Reagan for offensive missions.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.